March 2nd, 1955, and the bus going through Highland Gardens in Montgomery, Alabama is filling up quickly. The larger whites-only section is nearly full, and the colored section in the back has few seats remaining as well. After letting passengers on at the latest stop, a young white woman is left with no place to sit. The bus driver, acting with the authority of a police officer as per city ordinance, tells 4 African Americans seated in the front row of the colored section to move back. For this one white woman to sit, they would all have to move. It was illegal for whites and blacks to even sit in the same row. 3 of the black passengers move, but the last one remains. This is not Rosa Parks. Miss Parks' refusal to give up her seat would not happen for another 9 months. Sitting firmly, steadfastly, is a 15-year-old Claudette Colvin. She's told, commanded again to move by an increasingly hostile bus driver. "It's my constitutional right," she declares back at him. What was going through young Claudette's head at that time? Perhaps it was the previous year's Brown versus Board of Ed decision which ruled Jim Crow separate but equal segregation in public schools to be unconstitutional. Perhaps it was her school's celebration of what was then called Negro History Week for the entire month of February. That month she learned about African-American activists like Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, recent heroes like Jackie Robinson and Marian Anderson, and for the first time, African history. Perhaps it was her 15 years of using segregated bathrooms, drinking from segregated fountains, and having to bring a tracing of her foot to go shoe shopping because she wasn't allowed to try them on before. It was, Claudette Colvin was not moving. Later she said that she couldn't. History had me glued to that seat. Sojourner Truth's hand was pushing me down on one shoulder, and Harriet Tubman was pushing me down on the other. But she would be moved. Police officers would board the bus, grabbing her, manhandling her, and dragging her off. 15-year-old Claudette would be arrested and brought not to a juvenile facility, but to the city jail, where she would wait hours for her mother and pastor to pick her up. She was charged and later convicted of assault and battery, disorderly conduct, and violating a city ordinance. But she continued to fight, appealing the decision. Her case, combined with the cases of 3 other African-American women, would be known as Browder versus Gale, the result of which was a ruling that Alabama's segregated buses were unconstitutional. It was this case that integrated the buses and ended the need for the 381-day Montgomery bus boycott. But then why was it Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her seat that started the bus boycott, and not Claudette's? It could be that Claudette, within a year of her refusal to give up her seat, became pregnant. A pregnant, unwed teenager in the 1950s would be a challenging figure to base such a movement on. Rosa Parks, on the other hand, was mature and poised, an NAACP secretary trained in nonviolent protest. Still, Claudette paved the way for the modern civil rights movement. Her act of protest convinced local groups, as well as a young minister named Martin Luther King Jr., to stage the Montgomery bus boycott. Rosa Parks, a hero of the civil rights movement, committed her act of defiance deliberately to challenge and draw attention to a grossly unjust law. Claudette Colvin was too young to think about the consequence of her action. She simply refused to move because she knew it was wrong. And in that instance, she showed how young people can truly change the world. Welcome back, class. I'm Mr. Betts, and that was the amazing true story of Claudette Colvin. If you want to learn more about her, why don't you check out Claudette Colvin Twice Towards Justice. I'll leave an affiliate link for it down in the description. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe because I put out new history videos every Thursday, and there's a lot to learn, but we're going to learn it together. Be safe, and I'll see you next time.